And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Now we're going to talk about a very interesting Broadway show, movie, revival, Jesus Christ Superstar, the very first musical collaboration between Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, debuting on Broadway in 1970. So we're right after the riotous year 1969 and into the 70s. And as Carl Anderson said on a Today Show interview 6 years before he died of leukemia in 2004, Carl, who played Judas Iscariot in the movie and on Broadway and on national tour, said that Andrew Lloyd Webber also wrote Phantom, Cats, many other musicals, has never had a show where everything came together in such a spectacular, melodious way than it did on his very first show, Jesus Christ Superstar. And I completely agree with him. If Andrew Lloyd Webber never wrote another musical except Jesus Christ Superstar, he would be famous and probably, for some people, infamous for the rest of his life. But he went on and found massive success in more mainstream ways that were, I guess, more politically and religiously acceptable to the mainstream audience. So Jesus Christ Superstar appeared in 1970 on Broadway. It was a big hit, big controversy. The religious people who loved Jesus Christ did not love Jesus Christ Superstar. And we'll discuss a little bit of that, why. And then in 1972, thereabouts, they made the movie version of the stage version, and then it came out in 1973. So in 1973, when the movie came out, I was all of 8 years old. 8 years old. And I remember people talking about it. You would go to the movie and you would be given a brochure that had high glossy photographs that you could take home with you. They used to do that in the movies. Sometimes it was free. Sometimes you paid, $6 to take home a souvenir. And I remember the album, the original Broadway album. Don't listen to the revival albums. Don't listen to the musical adaptation from the movie album. Go get the original Broadway recorded album if you want the true experience. It has better singing, and it was a 2-record set. And I confess, people my age, in the early 80s, memorize the soundtrack to Jesus Christ Superstar. Now today, the kids have it easy. You find the album, you stream it, you can sing for an hour and 45 minutes. But back then, you had to listen to one side, 30 minutes, flip over the album, second side, 30 minutes, get out the second disc, flip. It was a big experience and a big dedication to listen to the whole song. And for some reason, our local playhouse, the Lincoln Community Playhouse, was doing a production of Jesus Christ Superstar in the sort of late 70s, whenever it was available to regional theaters. And every star, actor, singer we had in town wanted to be in that show. And they got cast in that show because the Playhouse wanted to do a good version. And at that time, it was semi-controversial, had found success, but it was a blockbuster hit for the Playhouse. At that time, I believe Bob Carey was the liberal Democrat governor of the great state of Nebraska. It's not for everyone. And so there wasn't much outrage. People just took it for what it was. You didn't like it, you didn't like it. If you liked it, you loved it. I loved the show then. I love the show now. And I was surprised when I found it on, it's on Amazon Prime and also on iTunes. And when I found it, I couldn't believe it was available, first of all. and the original version. But when I watched it with Jan Marie, who had never seen it before, I remembered all the songs. I remembered all the lyrics. I was singing along. It's that embedded into me. And the melody is right. The sound is right. The adaptation is what's interesting. Now, a bit of background. My beautiful wife, Jana Marie, was raised in a very religious but liberal household. Her brother is a minister at a local Baptist church right now today. Older sister is a big believer in the blood of Jesus and that sort of protection. And Jana's mother was very deeply involved in church and interpreting for the deaf at the church. And so she was raised in that very strict religious consecration of belief. I had a very brief discussion with her mother one time before she passed about the Roman Catholic Church and Christendom. And I was very quickly told that Catholics are not Christians. And I didn't understand it then. I didn't understand it now. My beautiful Jana Marie has explained it to me many times. And I don't understand it. But I guess the idea is that if you believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior and as everything holy, you would not believe in a pope. And I've probably completely, totally misconstrued that, and that's nothing new for me. But I was very strictly told that some believe that Catholics are not Christians, even though they believe in Christ. Not a Christian. The story says, "What? Oh, yes, I remember reading that." So after Jana Marie saw the first version, because we're going to watch it again, when she saw the first of it, totally captioned, I asked her, I said, so what would your family think of this? Or more widely, what would people who believe, as your family has believed over the years, of this show? And she immediately told me a couple of interesting things. Three things bothered her. First, when the lepers and the cripples are asking Jesus to heal them, he doesn't heal them. He just sort of brushes them off because he's not interested in that anymore. In the movie, that bothered her. She wanted to see the healing. She was concerned with the way that Jesus went into the marketplace and tipped over everything and was yelling at the prostitutes and the money changers. This is not the way. She thought that was a little over the top. And the third thing that really bothered her was the fact that the movie did not show Christ rising from the dead. They saw his crucifixion, his 39 lashes by Pontius Pilate, but they did not show the resurrection. And all of those criticisms and thoughts are true and clear, and they all make sense. But now I'm going to get into this and explain why those things, in the genius way, that Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice decided to tell this story, don't matter. So this is what we're talking about. This is Jesus Christ Superstar. This is the movie version of the stage version, directed by Norman Jewison. And the big cast is Ted Neely as Jesus Christ, the Superstar, Carl Anderson as Judas. This is him dancing in hell after he hanged himself and died. Yvonne Elliman playing the whore, Mary Magdalene. Not a secret. She was a prostitute. It's part of the story. Pontius Pilate. This is what he looks like now. Terrifying in the movie. Looks like a friendly old guy you'd love to meet today. Josh Marstell playing King Herod. So you are the Christ, the great Jesus Christ? Prove to me that you're the Lord. Change my water into wine. Paul Thomas played Peter. Robert Lapone, Patty Lapone's brother, was also in it. Okay, so big show. Now, context matters. Decisions matter on how one decides to adapt a well-known story that has healing of lepers, rising from the dead. Okay. So the first thing we know is that the way that this story is told, it's a bunch of kids, right, getting onto a bus, driving into the middle of a desert in Israel. They unpack their bus because they're going to put on a show. They're going to tell the story of Jesus Christ as a play. So it's a play within a movie. And even better on Broadway, it's a play within a play. So there was a very wise and smart decision by the creators of the musical to only deal really with the last few days of the life of Jesus Christ. Artist Doris says, wow, Zero Mostel's son? I love Zero Mostel. And that movie made him a star. And speaking of stardom, Yvonne Elliman, Ted Neely, Carl Anderson, they were all typecast. Mary the whore, Jesus the Christ, Judas the betrayer. And they never really had a career outside of Jesus Christ Superstar. They were typecast. But it doesn't seem like it bothered them too much because they were in the Broadway show, they did the movie, they went on a national tour, they're okay. So they decided to tell this story very specifically, a story within a story. And we're not going to talk about the baby Jesus. We're not going to talk about the resurrection. We are not going to show him healing the disabled because we already know all that. We take all of those things as facts and evidence. Jesus Christ is a representation of God on earth. And another thing that bothered the Jana Marie, just theoretically, intellectually from her upbringing, is they kept saying in the movie, he's just a man. Prove to me who you are. And that bothered her that he wasn't the Christ child walking on earth doing miracles. And I say, right. That is the point of that telling of the story. We see Jesus Christ's frustration with the people trying to be healed by him. And we're at the point now where he says many times, I'm 30 years plus 3 years I've been doing this. I'm 33. It's the end of my road. And all of these people now come to expect these things of me, and they're not interested in what I'm saying. They just want to be healed. They want this. I'm kind of over that now because I've moved on to what's coming next. And even in the lyrics, it's very smartly told, where they're sort of making the point that the 12 apostles, the 12 disciples, and they sing this, the apostles, when he's gone, we're going to be famous. We're going to be superstars too, because we're each going to write a book about him, that we knew him when he was on the earth. And we're going to have this wild success because of him. So right there you see, oh my goodness, it's already a business. The apostles are going to write about their experiences with the adult Christ child. So we don't need to see him healing. the disabled because we know he's already done it. And that's why they keep coming to him saying, King Herod says, turn my water into wine. Take my bread. Show me who you are. Perform for me. Monkey, right? Performing monkey. Jesus refuses. I'm not interested. I'll go back to Pilate and take my chances. And then that tableau they make at the Last Supper, we're in the garden. Jenna loved that. It was very beautifully done. And they just, for 1 second, as they establish the scene and they're all in their position, for just 1 second, they all freeze. And that's the painting. And then they go in and they do their thing. They continue the scene. And this is a story that is Judas's story. The Jesus Christ doesn't do a lot in the movie. He's just kind of there. Oh, I'm God's son, and I'm put upon, and I'll sing a little bit, but not too much. All the singing is done by Judas. And it's very interesting singing. He's accusing Mary, and he's accusing him, and you're not keeping your word, and you're spending all this money on oils and your comfort, and what about the poor? I was your right-hand man. What happened to you? I didn't change. You changed. The second most popular person in the movie is Mary Magdalene, played by Yvonne Elliman. She has a lot of singing, and she sings beautifully. So this is Judas's story, and it's very interesting, and Carl Anderson is terrific in the movie. Now, there are some people who don't know things and say, oh, yeah, sure. It's a black guy who betrayed Jesus Christ. Yeah, we knew it all along. Ugh. If you know the musical style, what they're going for, the movement, the dance, the stuff, it's beautifully done. And when Yvonne Elliman sings her very famous song, that is a super religious song from the musical, I Don't Know How to Love Him. He's a man, he's just a man. And these past few days, so she's falling in love with God on earth, and he seems to be very interested in her, and Judas is not happy about that either. And the most important moment in the movie is after Mary's sung her song, I Don't Know How to Love Him. He's just a guy that I met who seems to be very popular, and he's cute, right? That's the idea. She has a revelation, and Yvonne Elliman plays it so beautifully on stage, where she's having a conversation. She said, how did he know, Jesus Christ, how did he know before it happened that Judas was going to betray him? How did he know? And then the next thought in her mind is, and how did he know that Peter would deny him 3 times? And then you see it on her face as she realizes, he's not just a man. He's something else. And then at the end, after the betrayal and the kiss from Judas, Judas sings a little bit of her song. I don't know how to love him. He's just a man. And then we get to the end and the crucifixion. And then everything sort of goes dark. And the movie is over. The play within the movie is over. And everyone slowly is getting back onto the bus, taking off their costumes. They're in regular clothes. We put on our show in the desert in Israel. Now we're going back home. And do we ever see Ted Neely, Jesus Christ, do we ever see him get on the bus? I don't believe we see him in the string of well-known actors that we have met over the course of the show. We don't see him get on the bus. He could already be on the bus And this is where it's left to your belief and your doubt and your storytelling. Because the last person to get on the bus is Judas, Carl Anderson. And he looks up on a hill as the bus is leaving, and we see what he sees. One cross, not three. There were three, but now there's only one cross, with the sun behind it setting, and the cross is empty. So we see through Judas's eyes, played by Carl Anderson, that Ted Neely, the actor, and Jesus Christ, the Christ child, are not there. They're not on the cross. Are they in the bus or are they somewhere else? Getting ready for the resurrection. So we don't see the resurrection. We don't need the resurrection. We already know the story. And if we don't know the story, we don't need to know what comes next, because what comes next is what we're told. We're getting on the bus. The story's over. We've told everything we can. The cross is empty. There is a setting sun. And the bus leaves. The show is over. And the movie is over. So it's a very interesting story and a very genius way of telling a well-known idea and compressing it where you don't have to show every moment. You can just show the results. You can show the anticipation of the next thought. You know, when we go into the movie theater, into the Broadway stage, that what we are seeing on stage is Jesus Christ, the superstar. That is a fact and evidence. So we don't need to see him being a superstar. And we don't. We see him just being this regular guy who's living a life. 30 years plus 3. And to some people who are strict, very firm believers, that bothers them. They want to see the miracles. They want it demonstrated. And for other people say, well, you could do it that way. And there are many movies that have been made with the miracles. Or you could tell it a different way, with facts and evidence, and then the things that maybe you don't think about as much. How he was in the form of a human being on earth, and they say repeatedly, King of the Jews, and what are you going to do? And the thing that interested me the most was this whole political judicial thing that was really something I didn't understand as a kid. Where you have the local priest saying, look, we have this problem with this Christ guy. He's causing a lot of trouble, and we got to get rid of him, but we don't have the authority to do what we need to do, and that's kill him. We have laws. We can indict him. We have a subpoena. But what are we going to do with him? Well, if we don't take care of it, Rome's going to take care of it. If we don't take care of it, they're going to come after us. We have to figure out what we're doing, or we're going to get blamed for it, and we're going to be killed. So then they indict him, send him to Pontius Pilate. Pilate says, what do you want me to do with you? I can't really get rid of him either. He hasn't broken any laws. He's getting a little too popular. I'll send him to King Herod. Herod will take care of it. So sends him to Herod. The big laugh part of the movie with the singing and the silly dancing. And then Herod says, if you're not going to show me who you are, I don't have anything to do with you. Go back to Pilate. Gets sent back to Pilate, gets his 39 lashes, dying. Pilate says, just admit that you're nobody, I'll let you go. And Jesus Christ, the man, says, well, it's already decided, so whatever you want to do with me, I don't care anymore, because this is happening. Well, then, okay, if that's what you want, put him on the cross. That was very interesting to me, to see the law of the time and who's going to take care of this problem that we have, this Nazareth thing coming through and having all of these spectacular people following him. And they're singing and they're dancing and they're having fun, and we don't do that around here. That was the message of the story for me. Thought it was terrific. So 50 years ago, and almost everyone who was in that movie, Ted Neely's still alive, he's 72. Yvonne Elliman is still alive. Carl, unfortunately, died in 2004. I believe Josh Mostel is still with us. A life-changing event, a life-changing moment. And in some ways, we're all a part of it. We're all in this storytelling together. And it's become part of our history and part of our nature. And I'm very grateful we have this version of the Christ child that we can watch and observe and enjoy on a level that is not necessarily religious, but one of fulfilling the destiny of the human soul. And now we're going to take our final blood pressure break of the day. I will return in a moment.